words and the profound implication they have on not only our inner state, but also our world around us. So I wanted to share two stories. One was I watched this morning. It was a Toastmaster speech that someone had shared. And there was a part of this story that the speaker shared about his 4-year-old son. And I apologize for not knowing the gentleman's name, but it was a really profound story that I thought we could all resonate with. He said that his 4-year-old liked to color on the walls with crayons. And all of us have had that child that likes to do destructive things to walls with brilliantly colored wax pencils. So he said he walked into his 4-year-old's room while he was coloring one day, and he said, hey, what are you doing? What are you, stupid? Stop doing that. Okay. And he said, do you think that stopped the behavior? It didn't. He said the very next week, he walked into his room and he saw the child doing it again. But this time, he just kept circling and he looked back at him like, what you going to do about it now? Right? And he said he had a different intuition that he needed to respond differently. He said he got down to his son's level and said, hey, you don't need to do that anymore because you're a big boy now. And he said the behavior never recurred. And there's something else here so very important, and it's not even how we interact with children, but how we interact with ourselves. So I know if some of you aren't familiar with me, my name is Dr. Lori Marbis. I'm a board-certified family and lifestyle medicine physician, and my desire is to help people find health. But it starts with what's going on between our ears, right? And I think what was so amazing about this as I was thinking about that today, I like to do mindful walks, and today my husband joined me, which was a real true joy. I was thinking, when we have our moments, like I have a tendency to have imposter syndrome or feel like I'm not giving enough or worthy enough to do the work that I do, right? Who said you were smart enough to be a doctor, that type of thing. So what I've chosen to do is call those thoughts, emotions, my Lizzy Lizard Brain. Because I know they're not me. I know who I am. And I've become this kind of humorous back and forth joking because the moment I acknowledge Lizzy Lizard Brain coming to join me and say, I wonder what the message is in this moment, she evaporates. And so does the emotional and thought process that sometimes would build a story around it. And that allows me to be introspective. But what I can gather from this story at the 4-year-old is, how do you speak to yourself when you do something that maybe it wasn't in line with your values or goals, right? Do you call yourself stupid? Do you call yourself unworthy? Do you compare yourself to others and think, oh, they do better? Do you constantly put yourself down? Well, I want you to stop and take a moment and reflect. Who's speaking, right? Is it your Lizzy Lizard Brain? Is it the domineering parent in your past? Who is it that's speaking to you? And the really important thing here is I want you to understand is that we are energy beings before we are physical beings. And the emotions, the words, the thoughts, and the actions that we choose to engage with on a daily basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, will absolutely create your reality. And that reality starts inside, right? And so if we take a moment to pause and catch ourselves in that moment of guilt-provoking or shaming, that internal dialogue, and really ask, okay, I see you, I acknowledge you, I'm not going to resist you, but obviously there's a message here that I need to understand. And just take a time to quiet your mind and put space around that interaction before you engage with it and feed it energy. Because it's just like the child who has a tantrum. If you're a parent and you've had the 2 or 3-year-old and they throw themselves on the ground and they're having a tantrum because they didn't get what they want, the more you try to force it to stop or whatever, guess what? It gets worse. So Instead of just ignoring it, because then it gets louder too, is just being there present with it, acknowledging that it's there, the tantrum, the whatever, your internal tantrum, your internal turmoil. And then afterwards, or as it starts to dissolve, that's when you come with compassion and love to yourself. And when people's like, oh, you have to start loving yourself first, I think this is the first step. And it's not a space of arrogance or narcissism. I think everyone manifests their insecurities in a different way, which we might describe as personality defects, and certainly have my share. But I think there's a moment here for us to learn the lesson, and that how we speak to ourselves has profound impact on your internal state, which will then be manifested in your external state. And we all understand if we've had a rough day, we tend to be a little bit shorter with people. We tend to be a little less compassionate for those who maybe are in a hurry. Someone cut us off in traffic. A child doesn't pick up something. Your husband leaves his dirty clothes on the floor. I'm just throwing out random small things that just then suddenly it appears that the sky is falling, right? And the moment you started coming to yourself with compassion is the moment that you're going to start having more compassion for others. And I just really wanted to share that with you today. And just another really funny little story about Jonathan, my son, my middle child, who's getting married this weekend, to a lovely young woman, Stephanie. When he was 3, Jonathan had this really funny crack up kid. Like this kid, he always was saying stuff and doing stuff that just cracked me up. Well, one day, it was over Easter weekend, we had some jelly beans in the house. And there was a bowl of jelly beans, and Jonathan likes jelly beans. And I had pushed the bowl back on the counter because he was only 3 and he couldn't reach it. Well, I woke up in the morning and went to go get the kids and wake them up. And Jonathan's face is just covered in all sorts of colors. And I had also noticed on the way to the room that there was a chair pulled up to the counter, and that bowl of jelly beans was pulled to the side, and most of the jelly beans were gone. And so I went to Jonathan. I said, Jonathan, did you eat jelly beans today? Or last night? He goes, no, Mom, I did not eat those jelly beans. I said, you didn't? Well, what's really interesting about this, instead of punishing a child, because God knows he probably didn't remember, or maybe if he did, it's a little consequence at that moment. What I did learn from that is like, what can I utilize this love of jelly beans for? And I'd had some struggles getting him to be potty trained. And so what I chose to do was like, Jonathan, you know those jelly beans. Now y'all can call it bribery, whatever you want. But when you're a tired mom and you have 3 children, 5, 3, and a smaller, like I think Gabe must have been, I don't know, 6 months, 7, 8 months. And you got multiple diapers going on and you're tired, you just do whatever you can. And that's okay, my friends. I understand. So I said, Jonathan, how about this? Every time you go to the bathroom in the big boy potty, you're going to get jelly beans. You know what? Within a few days, the boy was completely potty trained. And so I guess what I'm trying to say from this is there's another opportunity to understand that you can utilize things that happen to you, even though they're frustrating and crack you up or whatever. How can you utilize that to your benefit and help someone else, right? Instead of getting angry and frustrated, right, and complaining, what can we do to come around and make this to a positive influence? But so I think the 3 things that I wanted to share today is words matter. Your words absolutely matter. Your thoughts matter. How you speak to yourself matter. It matters more than anything else, because what you are saying to yourself is reflecting to others in your interactions with them. You may not be thinking so, but it absolutely does. So if you start talking kinder to yourself, and not out of a sense of guilt or, oh, I have to love myself or whatever, but just out of true compassion for the beautiful being that you are, your life will start to change. And 2 is that we are energy beings before we are physical beings, right? And so if you find that you're talking to yourself like things just never work out for me, I always have bad luck, start changing the conversation, right? If you had a friend who was saying that, when you highlight and change their conversation, would you reflect differently back to them? And finally, I think the next thing that I just really want to say is let's be responsible for our inner state first, right? And set your intention for each day that you're going to take care of yourself inside, because my friends, you will find that if you do that, everything gets easier. And yes, some days are harder than others. I do appreciate that. But it doesn't mean you can't make small improvements in that inner state. Every action, every thought, every emotion absolutely matters. And when you have a negative thought or you begin to complain or you feel the urge to, stop and ask yourself one question. Do I want my energy, my spirit to feed that negative word, that negative emotion? Because if you do, just know that there is consequences to doing that. And so I hope you found that helpful. It was so heavy on my heart to share with you today. And I just wanted to hope that you find some peace and solace in those words. And so thank you for being here. And I'm sending you joy, gratitude, and love. And just thank you so much for being here. And please subscribe if you haven't. I appreciate anybody who spends time with me. And yeah, I truly, truly want you to know you are loved. You are precious and worthy. And God, I see you. Oh my Lord, I see you. So be well, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Okay, thanks for being here. Bye.